So how is the fitness industry backward and ineffective?
Um, I think simply put, in all things, we get good. We only get good at the things we do, right? So that basically means you only get good at the movements that you actually practice. And the reason the fitness industry mainly is backwards in its approach, in my opinion, is that we relate muscles. We put too much importance on muscles in terms of improving performance, right? So we relate muscles with performance, but so we're using movements that are focused, or the function of those movements, the purpose of those movements is to develop our muscles, and that's their primary purpose. So we're using movements, we're practicing movements basically that just develop muscles. They don't develop any kind of useful skills. So for example, there are athletic skills that we need in order to perform everything that we do, and like on a basic fundamental level, performance is all about efficiency, right? Which is basically like making everything as easy as possible, right? But when we're in the gym, for example, and we're exercising, we're taking movements that we never do outside of the gym, and we're intentionally making everything as hard as we possibly can. Like we're creating a lot of extra tension throughout our entire body. And basically the way we move and the way we train in the gym creates inefficiency outside of the gym. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, absolutely.
So the best performers, when you look at the best athletes out there, they tend to have great posture, right? The way they're posturally aligned, their alignment is such that they're very efficient in how they move, and they never have a lot of extra tension. So like the common denominator, or one of the common characteristics that you see amongst all great athletes is how relaxed they are, right? So really like they've learned strategies that make whatever it is that they're doing as easy as possible. But when you go to the gym, you're creating a lot of extra tension that you take with you outside of the gym, and you're using movement strategies that are totally inefficient.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I haven't thought about it that way, but definitely makes sense. And also, a lot of times in the gym, we're doing things that the movements or our form it's easy to injure ourselves.
So performance and safety or security go hand in hand, or performance and injury resistance always go hand in hand. So as actual real life performance increases, so does injury resistance. And really, again, it's performance and injury resistance are about your ability to efficiently absorb force. And your ability to efficiently absorb force really depends on your ability to maintain the alignment of your joints that's optimal for force absorption. So it kind of gets into physics, basically. And just like when you build a home or you build a structure or a bridge or whatever, and you have pillars and supporting structures, the alignment of those segments has to be ideal for the force that structure has to absorb. And our bodies are the exact same way, and it's less. So the performance of a bridge or any kind of structure depends less on the muscles that are keeping it in place and more so about the skill and the ability to keep yourself in alignment that really requires as little muscular force as possible.
Very interesting.
So I mean, so really, we want to learn to move in ways that requires as little endurance and strength as possible. But that's totally opposite of what we're doing in the gym.
Who else out there do you follow that kind of prescribes to your mode of thinking and the way that they train?
Well, I would say Rafael Ruiz definitely um, helped to guide me in this direction. Um, and I think culturally, spending a lot of time in Thailand has helped me to realize these things. Um, boxing in Thailand and training at the camps there, and then just seeing the way they move and the way that just basically seeing how efficiency, basically like getting more with less, is intertwined with performance in everything that they do over there. Um, but within the fitness industry, surprisingly, there aren't a lot of people talking about these things. Because again, I think the fitness industry in general is just overly focused on muscles.
I listen to a podcast that I listen to. I hear several fitness guys throughout the last few years when I started listening, and I hear all types of philosophies. But one guy I heard recently with Mark Divine on the Unbeatable Mind podcast, he talked about he was going tracing our roots way back many, 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 many years ago, and how he said we were runners. We were meant to run. And do you do any of that where you go back to the prehistoric or just ancient days of us and what our bodies were meant to do?
Well, I wouldn't say that I necessarily directly study our prehistoric history or anything like that. I think overall I do look at biology though, and really survival and life can be described as a competition over limited resources, and the organisms that tend to survive and those genetic changes that tend to last, right? That offspring that tends to survive are those that are the most efficient. They get the most with the least. So as a biological organism, or as biological organisms, we require energy in order to survive, right? We know that. And we have various strategies for getting that energy. So the organisms, and that energy is limited, so those organisms that survive and that exist now are those that were the most efficient in that process. And that's really, so I think like the whole concept behind performance, survival, efficiency, security, and how it relates to efficiency is very observable in nature. And when it comes to, basically like saying that we were built to run, I think isn't totally inaccurate. I think you can be more general, and it's what I say. So basically you could break down the strategies for collecting the energy we need in order to survive, all organisms. Basically let's say you have animals and you have plants, right? Plants have a strategy that does not require them to move around. They just hang out and get what they need from the earth and the sun, right? Animals have developed strategies that require them to move in order to get what they need, right? Plants do not really move. Animals do move. So you can break down animal movement basically into one simple word, which is locomotion, which is just getting from one place to another. And that, of course, includes running. So the primary thing that my exercise programs aim to improve in regards to fundamental athletic ability is efficient locomotion. So I want to make it easier for you to get from one place to another, because that's the one thing that's involved in everything.